Hi, everyone. I'm Pip from Seymour Digital Media. You're listening to Know How Marketing Lab podcast. This podcast brings together different experts in marketing from our Facebook group, Cyberpunk Geeks Marketing Mixer. Each week, we get on here and we talk about something search marketing like Google Ads or SEO, social media marketing from Facebook to TikTok, or website marketing. If you're a marketer or aspiring marketer, a business owner or entrepreneur, this podcast for you. We're going to share the best SEO, search, social, and website strategies. We share tips and hacks, Google Ads strategies, what's going on in the current market. Each week we discuss something exciting and awesome in marketing. And here we are. It's us, the team of the marketers that work together, live together, play together, because we're fortunate.
Indeed.
I don't know if I'm fortunate. Today we're talking about how to optimize Google Ads, because this is what we do in our business, right? So after you create a campaign, you have to optimize it. And so many people think that you can just create Google Ads account and a campaign and it'll run itself. It'll run itself aground if you do it like that, right? Did you like that? I thought that was good. Yeah. We're going to jump right into the thick of it. So this is all about optimizing Google Ads. Different than optimizing Facebook ads, right?
Very much. You'd almost say there's too many dials to optimizing a Google Ads account.
Right. And we're talking text search campaigns, or are we talking like all different types of campaigns?
So we're most of the tips that we have, and some of them are stuff that we found while researching. Some of them are ones that we use all the time. We figured, it's a good excuse to learn
both.
Yeah, exactly. And most of it pertains to text ads, but really the principles are going to be the same if you're doing any YouTube or display or not shopping, because shopping's weird and does its own weird things.
And optimizing strategies change over time, right? As Google changes what they're doing to optimize related to a match type of keywords. Now, if you don't know, inside Google Ads, you have 3 different match types. You used to have 4. And the 3 are broad match, exact match, and phrase match. We might be using those terms in this conversation. So first, I kind of wanted to talk about what does it mean to optimize Google Ads. I know a lot of clients get like proposals and they'll be like, what do you mean when we say optimize, right? And optimize means going in and trying to cost the client less and get more conversions. So it's not about clicks. It's not about impressions, although, those metrics are nice to see. It is about click-through rate, and it is about, conversions being leads, forms filled out, email link clicked, phone numbers called. And so when you optimize, you're going into an account weekly, daily sometimes, and you're doing different tasks that help you broaden and narrow the campaigns at the same time, or right?
Yeah, I also think of it as like your goal that you're trying to do when you optimize is taking that funnel and making sure that the whole way through there's no leakage. It's less of a funnel and you want it to shape more like a pipe, where it's just basically someone clicks on the ad and goes straight down to convert. And that's not always going to be the case, but that's your goal.
Oh, that's the dream. And the funny thing is, one of the things that happens inside Google Ads is you want to also check analytics, because people's conversion paths aren't always so linear, right? I mean, you're literally maybe going to an ad, then going to their site from organic, and then going from Facebook. Like people are all over the place, right? And multiple people visit.
Yeah, exactly. We've definitely seen that with even when you have a targeted landing page, they don't come back to that landing page, but they do search you again, and then they fill out the form on your regular contact form on your website instead of the special one you had. And so it can be a little bit annoying but it's definitely very important to keep an eye on that as well.
I find that you can get lost in optimizing, and every Google Ads person is different. You have to realize there is no one course that you can take. You can take Google Ads classes. However, they don't teach you the fundamentals of really optimizing. That happens over time with skill and connecting with other ads people and talking strategy, which is probably one of the fun parts. But so let's go through our list of how we optimize and then what we saw some new recommendations, because with Google Ads changing so much, you have to change how you're optimizing things because some things have been taken away from you and some things have been given to you. So I think
Or
last year,
or the other fun one is definitions of things like what is exact. Just moves just a little bit, and
fairly exact.
yeah, exactish. As
Exactish. Okay, when we are optimizing, we are not looking at clicks, right?
mhm.
Really, and we're not looking at impressions. If we're getting a lot of impressions and no clicks, there's a problem. So that's the first thing you look at, right? If your ad is not getting any clicks, means your ads, something's not working with your ad.
Yeah,
If you're getting lots of clicks, but then nobody is filling out the forms, so that's different. That's conversion rate optimization, and that's updating and adjusting the page. The other thing you look at inside Google Ads with that is your quality score, which is a metric that relates to the ad, the keyword, and the landing page.
yeah.
So basically, you're always looking at different components inside and with Google Ads because you're looking at the landing page, you're looking at the ads, you're looking at the click through rate. And then on the other side, we spend a lot of time with our search term report and optimizing that way. So we have a huge negative keyword list. Oh, and a negative keyword is when you don't want to show up for something,
Yeah.
right?
And also the negative keywords can also match to those three match types that you had. So you can have a negative broad keyword, you can have a negative phrase match, you can have a negative exact match. So that's one to keep in mind is you can also do certain strategies like that as well.
Yeah.
The other thing I like to think of is just kind of honing what you had said was like think of it like you're starting off with that funnel where it's like impressions. Are we getting impressions? Yes. Are we getting clicks? Yes. Are we getting conversions? Yes. And then if there isn't one of those, or there's a huge drop off in one of those areas, then you should focus on that part of it. And so that kind of goes after. And so it's kind of an easy way for you to work your way through. And definitely the quality score. Definitely one where I think that you should really spend a lot of time to make sure that your ad relevancy and your landing page experience are really strong.
I find that a bit of a challenge sometimes because, you're getting the landing page from the client and, to tell the client, hey, can you just add these keywords to the landing page? Oftentimes you might want to duplicate the page, update it, then show the client and then direct traffic to that. I think we've started doing that. We use lead pages for some of our clients actually, because that really helps with conversions.
Yeah, and practicing and using that with Google Optimize as well. That's something we're doing more.
Google Optimize. Now, what is
So
Google Optimize, Phelan?
Google Optimize is it's a landing page test application. So it's really powerful. It gives you personalization as another thing. So you can just straight A/B test. Like I wanted to change my H1, like my big title that's on the page. I want to change that. So 50% of the time it says this, other 50% of the time it says that. You can also do things where you can personalize it. So you could do connected to your Google Ads campaign, and then you could say, hey, for this ad group, changed it so that when traffic from that page comes, I want them to see this keyword in the H1, and so you can make it more targeted to the specific ad that they clicked on.
Now, that is pretty advanced stuff. I think we
Oh
teach
yeah.
Google Ads at the end of our Google Ads class, but it is just something to know. There are so many free tools that we get as marketers or you get as a business owner for your website that can help you with your ads, with your, figuring out what people are doing on your website. And the tools are out of the box from Google, right? I mean, man, we should just one day list all the tools you get. So Google Optimize is a really good one. When we're optimizing a Google Ads campaign, as I said, you can get lost. So you kind of
Oh
want
yeah.
to do it in hour chunks, maybe 2 hour chunks, depending how big the account. We use a strategy with our Google Ads that we might actually be changing, where when we create a campaign, we have a Google sheet we created in because each of our ad groups negatives out the keywords of the other ad group. And I know that might sound really confusing, but basically it's an in-depth strategy and we've got a Google sheet that helps us just do things out of the box. And we paid somebody to make that Google sheet for us. That being said, we might be changing our strategy. I talked to a Google Ads person yesterday that I'm friends with, and they've changed what they're doing. They were doing the same thing and they're seeing some good results. So you do have to stay up to date with, different strategies that are happening to try things, right? Because back in the day, there used to be these things called SKAGs, single keyword
Ad group.
ad group, right? And so now you can't really do that because Google's changed how it views exact match. It's almost exact match now, right?
Yeah.
So the other thing to optimize for is your ads. Now that Google has taken away the expanded text ads, we have responsive search ads. Inside responsive search ads, we get 3, right? You can make up to 3 responsive search ads. It's kind of probably overkill, but
Yeah.
in that, I would maybe max out 2, because in each ad you had 15 headlines, 4 descriptions. But the cool thing to optimize in there is the location keyword in dynamic location keyword insertion. So if I'm in Victoria and I type Victoria in, the word in the ad would change to where my location is. It's
Yeah.
another
So, for
fun
example,
thing.
yeah, so like an example would be like carpet cleaners in Victoria, or it'd be carpet cleaners near me if say your name was too long of the place, like Vancouver was too long, so just say near me as a
Yeah.
default setting.
Which you dynamically do that. So Google Ads can be so much fun. I would say it's a great full-time career. I'd say sometimes it feels really overwhelming because things change. You got to stay up to date, but because the great part of the career is that you're providing like an outcome for a client. Like your focus is generating business for them. And that's pretty cool. It's just stressful when it's not working. It's or not working well enough. And so some other ways we optimize fail, and you do different things than I do. So I know you do the search term report and make negative keywords, but what else do you think is a great idea?
So that I do whenever I'm optimizing an account, it's definitely I spend a lot of focus on that quality score. Like, just to circle back to that as like a big focus of mine, that I like to have the key, like the ad relevancy to be of at least average, if not above average, because I want it to be targeted and I want it to be. It seems like a waste if you're bidding on something and you're not even getting, like, your ads aren't relevant to the thing you're bidding on. So I like to make sure that those are in alignment. Also, landing page experience is at least above, maybe at least average to above average. That's another big one. Oh, one thing to say about the Google Optimize: if you do try to you can't use Google Optimize to improve the quality score on your ads, because Google scans the page as just raw HTML, so it just checks the words. So if you're using something that is a little bit of code that comes in after and changes it, then it doesn't register that because the code never fired. So just
Mm.
keep that in mind. You can't use that as a little cheat to get your quality score to work out really well for every page.
Want to know more about SEO? We've got a class for that. Our mission is to educate students about the right tools, techniques, and strategies to grow their businesses using the most up to date search engine marketing optimization techniques and tools. Find out more at knowhowmarketinglab.com. And there's some other things like there's impression share. You can check now. Some people think that's a vanity sort of thing. Impression share means like how often is your competitor showing up? How often are you showing up? Are you showing up higher
Yeah,
than them?
it's for all the auctions in the area that you are in and you're bidding on. How often are you showing up? And then you could also do like absolute top, meaning how much did you show up as number one, and then also top, which is like the top three. And yeah, generally you're going to find that that's going to be a vanity metric, especially if you have any competitor that's basically enterprise who has deep pockets, because they're just going to bid on everything, and it's better for you to narrow your account so that you're focusing just on what matters. That's one, especially if you've got a small budget. Like, don't worry about search impression, because really all you're after is like, I want to show up for that keyword and I want to show up absolute top of it when I do. That's one thing to really bear in mind.
And there is some, often you can lower your budgets and your bids, and that can actually have a positive effect. I think we just saw in one of the accounts we work on, I lowered the bids or lowered the entire budget, and we had a cost per acquisition lower, right? So a CPA. So some people optimize for that. I mean, to be honest, it gets pretty in depth. You can actually go into Google Ads and change your columns. And so you can
Yep.
do comparative from last week to this week. You can see how much were you paying last week for conversions. Like, you can look at things over like an extended period of time to see, like, are there keywords that are not converting at all, that have never converted, that are just costing you money? You want to get rid of those, right?
I was going to say another one that off of that I know you are a big fan of is optimizing for hours. So you set up ad schedules, and so
And turn
that's
off
when,
ads.
yeah. So it's a better way to get your bid, so you're not actually like blowing up your account by like just stopping it at certain times and then turning it back on. So there's ways to, because if you use the ad schedule, you're telling it ahead of time, hey, I don't want to show up for these moments, and so it knows, okay, don't get them lumped in, not just I was expecting you to be there and now you've turned it off and so I don't know what to do with you.
Yeah, and
uh,
I think it's really interesting because you can go a little step further and you can optimize for hours for an extension, like for the call extension. I learned that this year. I think the best thing I could say about Google Ads is, if you want a career where you're constantly learning, you will learn things. There's, what are they? The developers have made the dashboard quite intensive. So if you get to like the meat and bones of campaigns, right, and you're optimizing in there, there's so many buttons and levers that sometimes you, like, I did not know you could turn off your call extension at certain times, right? So if you have a call extension and nobody answers the phone after 5, why would you want that to show up? So optimizing that way. So not only turning off ads at certain times, like if you're not open on weekends, or you don't find you get leads in between 10 and 5 in the morning, which is something we often turn off ads because that saves you money, right? So the idea of optimizing is to save money and get more leads. And that's your whole goal. And yeah, and so for conversions, which you optimize for over time, and you
yeah,
have to make sure they're working or running. And sometimes things break. I don't know why things break, but they do,
it happens. It's
right?
just the nature of doing stuff online. Is sometimes there's an update and turns out that someone forgot to carry the one and now all your stuff's blown up.
Yeah.
uh,
And the keyword strategies for optimizing, adding keywords. So if you use a broad match type, you
yeah,
can find new keywords, right? To, like, so you use broad match and you're pulling in lots of keywords for your broad match term, and then you're going to negative them out if they're not working, and then you add them to different ad groups, right? And over time you'll probably create new ad groups. It's quite an interesting, overall interesting thing. Yes, lost in it. I can get lost in it for hours.
yeah, and it's definitely one that you reminded me of, is that don't just do pure broad. You want to do broad and then add an audience on it that's targeted to your, business or whatever, because if you just do a broad campaign, you will find a lot of weird stuff and Google will throw some weird stuff at you. The audience on top of it, especially in market audiences, are definitely going to be really helpful for you, or similar audiences, which are kind of
Yeah.
like lookalike audiences. Those are one of those two is really
Yeah.
helpful, I find.
I would
Uh,
say test it though, right? You can get a list of audience. You can track all your audiences then at all possible, which we do. And then you do observation first before you do that targeting, because you don't want to go too narrow too quick, right?
yeah, and it's definitely one. This is like when you're at the point of like your campaign's working, but you feel like you could get more keywords out of it.
Do more, get more, yeah. Without
Yeah,
spending money, extra
yeah,
money.
yeah, exactly. And so it's definitely one you have to watch out for, because if you just tell Google, "Hey, I'm going to bid on this broad keyword," like they will spend that money really quickly.
Oh, that's why you turn off your ads too. The other thing is creating a display campaign after, which
Yeah,
helps you with retargeting. We just created a display campaign for one of our clients just as an add-on bonus, and it got a conversion a couple days. I- I'm noticing that display campaign. So what a display campaign is, it's a square ad. I'm sure you know if you're a marketer, but if you don't know, just an aside, like in Google Ads, you have text ads and you have like picture ads, you can do video. So the picture ads are, we call them display, right?
yeah,
And when you do a display campaign, for some reason, when you do a display campaign on top of your search campaign, your text ads, it seems to make the text ads run better, right? Even, and we optimize, so we make sure we click off of everything that will spend extra money for your client. So there's a bunch of tabs in there that Google's, don't touch that. You don't want to touch that. That it won't work for you. And they're lying so far. Maybe that'll change in the future.
Yeah, the track record's not the best for them for what they think.
Yeah.
Or they're also, you have to bear in mind that their suggestions are for what's good for Google, not necessarily what's good for you. And so they might suggest something like you should do targeted search impression, which never do that. Never
Or
ever.
you should add, so we separate display campaigns from text campaigns, right? So there's two networks, the display network and the search network, right? Text ads go on the search network, picture ads go on the display network. And we keep that pretty separate so we can, because it's all about tracking and seeing the numbers and where they come in. And when you add those extra things into your search campaign, it's not as clear cut, right? We have tried having it on for a couple clients who say that they get leads from something like, what is it, Craigslist at the bottom. There's sometimes an
Used
ad,
Victoria.
and those are the display network.
Uh,
Use Victoria.
I think those ones are technically the search partners. When I was reading through who counts is Kijiji and Craigslist and DuckDuckGo, and they
Yeah.
count as search partners because you searched at the top, and so that's how those ones come. I believe that's my understanding on how those work. There is one exception, which is apparently shopping campaigns. You should turn on search partners, not display network, but turn on search partners because it shows up for Bing and DuckDuckGo. Shopping campaigns are much more your job is to negative things out rather than affirmatively say I want these. Though there was one strategy that we found for search ads that definitely make a lot of sense for shopping ads, which is using in-market segments in Google Analytics to define audiences. So what you're doing is you're saying like if someone has so in market means that they've gone to Google and they've searched about a specific topic. So maybe they're into gardening, maybe they're into wedding planning, something like that. And so they've actually affirmatively told Google, I'm interested in these type of topics, because why would you Google that if you weren't interested?
Mm-hmm.
And so what that means is that you can then increase or decrease your bids based on those in-market segments.
Yeah, yeah. And it is interesting because you can, like, when you go into Google, if you get with hours, when you have the hours, when you're optimizing, if you get a lot of conversions at a certain time of day, you can actually bump up your bid at that time of day, or bid like a percentage more. So it's a lot of fun. I think I've been doing ads for 10 years now. Phelan, how long have you been doing Google ads?
Easily 5, maybe 6 now. God,
Yeah.
has it been that long?
I started at Reach Local in 2010, I think. Yeah, that's good. That's good. But I was in sales, so you only learned the very surface of it all. So it takes a lot more. I did hire an expert to teach me, and I think that is one of the smartest things I did for my Google Ads career.
Yeah, for sure. There was one you just mentioned. One metric that if you're feeling like you've really got your stuff super advanced and really figured out that you can work on is figuring out your cost per acquisition and your lifetime value of your clients. They're very difficult things to calculate, especially if you're brand new or you just started. But if you can figure those out, Google can do some really amazing things, especially with your cost per acquisition, your CPA, because they can find, and you have to figure out for every dollar that I spend, how many do I actually get in conversions? And it's definitely one where figuring out requires a lot of data, but it's worth it, especially for Google, because they really like that number.
Yeah. I think there's always going to be people better than you or worse than you in a field. I'd say having some math skills when you get to that level is super helpful. And you do here and there bash your head against a wall about what can I do? What should I do? How do I do this better? We also use the Google AdWords editor, and that it is an advanced tool for making lots of changes to a campaign or duplicating a campaign. They say, never change a campaign really that's working. I mean, do your optimizations, but don't drastically change anything. You'd want to duplicate that campaign and then do it. But that again creates mass problems because Google Ads never deletes anything. So everything you've ever done, it's always going to be there. Whether or not you can use it is another story, right? So you might be able to see it. You might not be able to turn it on if things are deleted. It's pretty interesting though. I would say, so if we're going to sum it all up to how to optimize Google Ads, make sure you're using additional tools, Google Analytics, Google Optimize, Google Search Console,
Tag manager.
tag manage specifically to set up and check conversion tracking. And then you're going to go in and at every level. So at the keyword level, at the ad group level, at the ad level, at the campaign level, you're going to be optimizing, right? I would say that the minimum number of hours that you spend optimizing a Google Ads campaign a month is probably 2 minimum. I would say 4 would be better to make sure you're checking. Then that can just be a half an hour check. And the other thing I would say that's really important to do is have people you follow or Facebook groups you go to or Reddit or the communities on Google for Google Ads to keep learning, right? Because that's the only way to get really good. And that's what you want to do. You want to make yourself shine. So you get 46 reviews in Google. Yeah, that's right. Okay, we have some news because it's the last minute and 30 seconds. I thought I'd bring this up if you're with us, just so you know we're launching a podcast. And we got a couple in the bank. But if you can't get here and watch the lives on YouTube or in the Facebook group, you can always go over to our new podcast. It's called Know How Marketing Lab. It relates to our course. So there is extra stuff in there that we talk about weekly. Phelan and I get on there a lot and talk lots of search stuff, right?
Yeah.
And then the Geek Speaks are on there as well. We will let you know where to go if you want to sign up to follow us on there. And we'll be promoting this every week because, we're marketers. Right, Phelan?
Yeah, definitely.
Do you have any last thoughts for how you would optimize a Google Ads campaign now that I've told everybody?
No, other than I'd say start off with your quality score. If you want one place to start there.
Oh, interesting. Now, how would you find your quality score? Got 20 seconds.
So if you go to your keywords and then you might need to click on columns in the top right-hand corner of all your listed keywords, and then find there's going to be a section that'll open up in the columns called quality score, and you can click it there, and then you need to check quality score, landing page experience, expected click-through rate, and ad relevancy. Make sure all those are turned on, and then
okay, that was about you went overtime. You got excited. If you want to learn more about Google Ads, or you feel like you just touched the iceberg here and you want to learn more, we do love talking Google Ads, and we do have a course actually in Google Ads. But more on that later. Next week, we are getting on here. It is all 4 of us talking about the marketing update, so you're not going to want to miss that. Join us live in the Facebook group, Cyberpunk Geeks Marketing Mixer, or you can find us on YouTube, and we will see you next time. Okay, bye.
Okay, bye.
The conversation never stops in our Facebook group, Cyberpunk Geeks. Join us at facebook.com/groups/cyberpunk geeks to ask your questions, meet new friends, and learn even more about search, social, and websites.